Good evening, I'm Katerina Georgieva. Thanks for joining us. Here are your top stories.
It's just a very cowardly behavior, probably egged on in a group environment, but there could be more to it.
Recovery is the best thing. It's loving yourself. It's, realizing that I'm worth it.
People are very concerned. It's a devastating situation for the community itself in Windsor, as well as when they call back home.
We begin tonight with the latest on a pair of violent attacks in Windsor. Police have made multiple arrests, but say they're still searching for suspects. Both attacks happened in the early hours Saturday. A group of people brutally assaulting individuals at random, according to police. CBC News has obtained the two raw videos of the attacks. Both are about a minute long. We're going to play part of a video for you that police released yesterday. This is an edited video of the ones posted on social media. In the raw video, attackers can be heard shouting racial slurs while they assault the man. The men in each video are punched and kicked relentlessly. One video ends with a particularly hard kick to the man's head, which is then stomped upon. Police released these edited videos, hoping that it would lead to tips from the public about who was involved. We do know that one of the two people attacked was seriously injured.
Certainly under no circumstances should somebody be walking alone at any time of night, specifically somebody who may have no choice but to be walking alone at a specific time of night, should they ever be attacked in such a violent manner with such atrocious violence. It should never happen.
Police have arrested 3 people in connection to these attacks. 2 turned themselves in. 1 was arrested this morning. And some of the people involved are under 18 years old. Those in custody are facing charges of aggravated assault and robbery. Police believe there are 3 suspects outstanding, asking anyone with information to call Crime Stoppers. And Jacob Barker joins me now live from the scene of one of these attacks. Jacob, police continue to investigate this, but what are people in the community saying about this attack?
Well, Kat, I'm right outside the Aquatic Center in downtown Windsor. This was the spot where one of those incidents took place, and things sort of broke out right in the street right beside me and ended up moving onto the sidewalk here. And just about everybody that I've shown the video or has seen the video of this incident has been both shocked and disturbed by it. And it also does raise some serious questions about public safety in the city. I spoke with one woman who runs a yearly vigil for the victims of violence. She says that the justice system often drops the ball when it comes to prosecuting violent incidents such as these.
The issue here is that it's going to be a catch and release. The Windsor police do their job, but once they get into the court system, they're just going to be released back out on the street. They're probably not even going to do any time. I do believe that if you're in that mindset where you don't know where you belong or where you fit in, and you're actively out there on the streets and running the streets and gang activity, I do believe there's some deep-set trauma, and I do believe that they do need programming. I think that it should start in the schools. These are young kids. These are youth. So how do we reach the youth? Jail's not working. In and out of probation's not working. What do they need? They need some kind of program that can teach them to do better.
Obviously, these incidents very upsetting for the community, and this is taking place during an election in our city. Jacob, safety is an issue on the table. So what are you hearing from the candidates on this?
Well, actually, Katerina, the only candidate to respond to me is the current mayor, Drew Dilkens. Chris Holt, another candidate, he chose to pass on the interview that I asked him to do with me. But Dilkens did make this a pillar of his campaign when he ran in 2018, public safety. And I did ask him how he felt this incident reflects on the progress that they have made in council over the last during this last term, and just what can be done about it. Here's what he had to say.
Fundamentally, the police need to have the resources that they need to do the job they're going to do. We've hired 24 new officers, and I talk with Chief Belair at least once a day. And whatever he needs to make sure he keeps his community safe, he will have.
What more is needed?
Well, I'll take the direction from Chief Belair. Certainly, you know, we're in a campaign, so I'll have certainly lots to talk about when it comes to safety and security at the right time.
So, well, Dilkens may still be waiting to say what exactly he might do to stem incidents such as these. The investigation continues, and as Katarina says, there are still 3 suspects that the police believe are still at large. The police chief today calling on those individuals to turn themselves in.
Thanks for this, Jacob. That's CBC's Jacob Barker live downtown tonight. The controversial bill that could force hospital patients awaiting long-term care into nursing homes they did not choose was passed today. The PC is using their majority despite criticism from the public and the opposition. Lorenda Redekop has the details.
Mr. Calandra.
Mr. Calandra.
Mr. Fideli.
Mr. Fideli.
Mr. Ford and Etobicoke North.
One by one, government members vote in favor of Bill 7. With their majority, it easily passes.
The ayes being 76 and the nays being 35, I declare the motion carried.
The bill amends the Long-Term Care Act, allowing actions to be carried out without the consent of a hospital patient needing long-term care or their family, including admitting them to a home not of their choosing. All his hospitals are struggling, and around 2,400 hospital patients are waiting for long-term care.
The government is ramming Bill 7 through today with virtually no debate. They refuse to hear from families and frontline workers who say this bill will be devastating.
The opposition wants clarity, including on the cost if a patient refuses a home, and whether they could be charged the daily hospital rate of up to $1,800 a day, or the much lower fee they'd pay in long-term care.
I can't say 100%, but $1,800 is absolutely ridiculous. We'll have to work out a cost, and the hospitals have to work out the cost. The people that are determining that is not me personally. It's the hospitals and Ontario Health. So they'll work it out, but I can pretty well guarantee it's not going to be $1,800.
Today, this exchange.
Will the Premier make an absolute guarantee today that no senior will be charged that fee?
To respond, the Premier.
Well, Mr. Speaker, it's not about the cost. It's about giving proper health care to people that should be in long-term care homes.
A union and 2 advocacy groups for the elderly wrote to the province's Human Rights Commissioner, calling for an inquiry, claiming age-based discrimination.
It'll be challenged in court. It'll be challenged at tribunals. You know, this measure has been hanging around as an idea for 20 years, and there's a reason that it didn't happen. It's unjust, it's unfair, and it's just not right.
A lot of people are going to get hurt. We're going to see needless suffering. We're going to see unnecessary deaths.
He insists that's not an exaggeration. That deaths due to isolation are a real concern if elderly people are sent to homes difficult for family to get to. The government says people won't be sent a large distance away.
Mr. Gates.
But so far, there are no details. Regulations to go along with the bill are still to come. Lorenda Redekop, CBC News, Toronto.
The Ontario government is rolling out COVID booster shots for young people.
For children 5 to 11, access to a booster will be available as of tomorrow. And we encourage parents to make arrangements to get this booster for your kids in this age group, especially those children with underlying medical conditions that may place them at higher risk.
The province also announcing today that it is dropping the mandatory 5-day isolation period for those who test positive for COVID. Dr. Moore says if someone tests positive for the virus but has improving symptoms 24 hours after they first got sick, they can go back to work or school. The province notes people should wear a mask for 10 days from the start of their symptoms when in public. The changes come as provincial wastewater data shows a small uptick in COVID after weeks of decline. Meanwhile, Health Canada is set to approve an updated COVID-19 vaccine booster from Moderna. Radio-Canada has learned the approval will happen tomorrow. It is a bivalent vaccine effective against both the original strain of COVID-19 and the Omicron variant. Lives continue to be lost to opioid overdoses in our community. Today, people gathered downtown to remember those who died. Many there say International Overdose Awareness Day is meant to help end the stigma around drug addiction. And as the CBC's Jason Vio heard at the event, it's also a time for people to share their stories of struggle and of overcoming the disease.
Feel not good enough, and it's hard at the end of the day.
Today is just like ending the stigma. If you see someone struggling, like it's just, that's a human being. I wasn't going down a good path at all, you know. I was gonna end up either dead in jail, and I actually had a young man overdose and pass away in my room.
A year ago, on June 10th, 2021, I found out that my cousin was taken off life support due to a fatal overdose. That was my birthday, and I vowed since then, even though I've had ups and downs, that I would stay clean.
The stigma coming against these people out here who suffer from substance abuse is just not right. They are our loved ones. They're loved. They're somebody's son, daughter, sister, brother, uncle, you know, and it's devastating what's been happening on our streets in Windsor, really devastating. People are walking by as they see people laid out in overdose or unconscious, and they don't even realize, and they're just walking by.
So there's 2 doses of naloxone in here. It peels from the back. I'm here to provide that professional, formal training. There's a lot of misconceptions out there that might not be answered online or by hearsay. For example, you know, there's no age too old to use naloxone on. There's no age too young. There is no maximum dose.
I just celebrated my 90 days. And I'm going back to work. So, yeah, I'm really excited.
In the arms of the angel, will you find some comfort here?
Touching stories of resilience there. Inflation is biting into school nutrition programs. The Ontario Student Nutrition Program feeds 28,000 students at 93 schools around Windsor, Essex. But as schools prepare to reopen, providing those healthy snacks to students and lunches will be more challenging. Food costs are up, but funding is not. COVID has impacted the revenue stream of the agencies and service clubs that help support the food program. It's also short on volunteers. The supervisor of community relations doesn't want to see the program cut back. She says they need volunteers to return to the program, but also hopes the federal government will enact a federal school lunch program.
We hope that the federal government will step up with the 2023 budget. We're going to keep our fingers crossed to see that in the spring. And we are going to hope that we have some successful fundraising campaigns and that we've got some donors and some of our service clubs step forward and fill that gap for us.
With rising inflation, it's been a challenge for all of us trying to maintain a healthy diet and to do it within a budget. So CBC's Joanne Roberts hit the supermarket with one couple and a nutritionist and got some tips for stretching your grocery dollar.
I really love the pizza bobs.
Tiffany Dang and Kyle McKenzie rely a lot on frozen, pre-made food. They try to shop fresh, but sometimes they find food goes bad before they can eat it.
Sometimes, I just forget that, okay, I have that in the fridge.
The couple find themselves in the same predicament as many Canadians. They need easy meals that are still healthy and cheap.
Working full days, come home, we kind of just want easy to do stuff like that.
Janine Lafort owns Real Life Nutrition and is a registered dietitian. Lafort says there are ways to keep food costs down while still eating healthy.
So you can do things like kind of make a big batch of certain dishes that can be kind of portioned out and put in your freezer. And when you're making a larger batch, it saves time and it also saves some money too.
Like many Canadians, a big staple in Dang and Mackenzie's diet is meat. With it being an expensive item that Dang cooks with often, she wants to know if she can bring the cost down.
One of my favorite ingredients is red split lentils. They're actually lentils that have been split in half, and because they're cut in half, they cook really fast.
By changing the recipe and replacing a portion of meat with pulses like beans or lentils, people can still make filling meals that cost less. Although Mackenzie agrees that Laforte's tips are helpful, he still has one main concern.
Is there a way of doing it that just seems a bit more convenient, not overwhelming?
So even if you can find like 10 minutes, like little pockets of time where maybe you chop your carrots for the week, get that done. Rather than, thinking of it as really overwhelming and doing it all at once.
Laforte's #1 tip is for people to know what they'll eat. If something will get eaten, try to buy in bulk. Get quick-to-sell, discounted produce to eat the same day, or, if it's possible, freeze it for later and save money that way.
Laforte says these tips aren't just for Dang and Mackenzie. They're options all Canadians can consider when trying to bring their rising food costs down. Joanne Roberts, CBC News, Winnipeg.
As the local Pakistani community watches, worrying from afar as devastating floods destroy their homeland, one group in Windsor is asking for the Canadian government to do more. Pakistan's unprecedented monsoon season has caused flash floods across the country, affecting 33 million people. More than 1,000 have died. The Pakistan-Canada Association Windsor Group met with Liberal Windsor-Tecumseh MP Eric Smerchuk and Minister of Transport Omar Al-Gabra yesterday. The group wants the federal leaders to bring their concerns to Ottawa and get the government to pledge more money and support to the country.
It's an emotional stress on everybody because everybody is concerned not only for their family, but when you see those gruesome pictures and videos on Pakistan TV stations, you wish you can do something. If we pitch in our efforts together, I think we can make a difference.
Earlier this week, the federal government committed $5 million to help the most affected areas. Locally, the Pakistan-Canada Association Windsor Group said it has already raised more than $300,000 in donations and that it plans to do more fundraising soon. Municipal campaigns are kicking off across Windsor-Essex with new names on the ballot. And we wanted to check in with previous candidates to get their advice for those running this year. The CBC's TJ Deere spoke with 3 previous nominees for Windsor City Council.
Well, let me just fish this perfect sign out.
Jeff Denemy still keeps a sign from his 2018 campaign for city councillor. He ran in Ward 6 but lost by over 1,000 votes. Denemy wants better media coverage of the candidates running against the incumbent.
They'd go through like, oh, Ward 1, this person, Ward 2, this person. Oh, it's going to be a hot race. And they get to Ward 6 and they'd be like, oh, don't worry about Ward 6, just current person, just keep them going. Nobody's really kept running. And it would just bypass. They would never say my name. They would never say anything.
His advice for those running for council is unique. He suggests votes can be split by candidates with similar platforms.
If you are running and you know you're going to lose, just drop out. Like just drop out. If you actually want to see change in that ward and that's what you actually believe in, drop out.
Ryan Mancini ran in Ward 1 in 2014, but lost by over 580 votes. He wants prospective candidates to do their research before putting their name forward.
The process to register is very easy. I mean, you can go down to City Hall and register for the race, but running an efficient city council campaign is a lot of work. So you have to be ready to put in a lot of hours and work hard to meet your constituents and to address their concerns the best that you possibly can.
Unlike Denemy and Mancini, John Elliott ran for Ward 2 and won in 2014. Elliott managed his commitments while running the Sandwich Teen Action Group. He lost his 2018 re-election bid, but the former councillor's advice is simple.
Get to as many doors as you can, talk to people. Because ultimately you have to get the vote of the people, and you have to get those people out to vote, right? And I remember when we did win the 2014-2018, we went across the ward. We did the whole ward. Like, we didn't miss any area.
This political expert agrees, saying people remember you when you talk to them.
Even with social media and the electronic age, certainly a lot of candidates can reach a lot of people through social media, but it still matters on the ground, knocking on doors, meeting individuals at their homes. I mean, it's great to go to a big public event, but people remember you.
Election day is October 24th. Plenty of time for candidates to get people involved and make the rounds in their ward. TJ Deere, CBC News, Windsor.
Live look outside there at the Ambassador Bridge. That sun hitting the Detroit River. Sunny skies today and tomorrow and the day after that. They're sticking around all week long. Your full weather forecast is coming right up. Stay with us. Time for a weather update now with Rachel Modestino. Rachel, beautiful day today, and the sun is going to stick around.
It does look like the sun is going to stick around. What a way to end off August. We are making our way into September, but have a look. Bright blue skies in the Windsor region. But how did we exactly close out August? Well, we were below seasonal, just above halfway with our normals here in terms of rainfall. But we did win in some other aspects. If you were a fan of the heat, well, it was definitely an above average month in terms of temperatures, with many areas seeing almost over 30 degrees many days consecutively, and that is going to spill into September. So if you're a fan of long live summer like myself, there's some good news for you. This evening, temperature-wise, will be around 28 degrees, but the overnight we're going to be cooling down quite a bit because of this wind direction coming from the northwest, gusting over 50 kilometers per hour this evening. We'll be ushering in some cooler temperatures, but we are in the southwest, so those aren't going to be sticking around. Here's your overnight temperatures for Wednesday. Wednesday, around 16 degrees, definitely colder as you head further inland. But this is why we're seeing these winds. You can see this trough that's draped right across southern Ontario. That's going to be ushering in the winds of change. More fall-like temperatures are in the forecast, maybe right around that seasonal mark for Windsor. Cloud cover building in on Thursday afternoon. Possibility to see a passing shower or two through Thursday, but nothing to write home about. This is what's coming behind that trough. Definitely some cooler fall-like air that engulfs the province of Ontario, but Windsor being right down south, you're going to be reaping the benefits of summer trying to surge back in. So on our Thursday, bright skies yet again, that sun sticking around 25 degrees right around that seasonal mark, and that is going to be the trend as we head into our Friday. Lots of sunshine and areas will be into that 27-degree mark. We do have a little bit of rain around the corner, and that will be more so as we jump into the weekend with humidity building back in.
Definitely trying to soak up the last of summer. Thanks for that, Rachel.
Thank you.
And we'll have more right after the break. Stay with us. You might be voting in a different riding next federal election. The boundaries are being tweaked, and we have all the changes for our area on our website. Here is the Chatham-Kent-Leamington riding. This is what it currently looks like. But an independent panel is redrawing boundaries to match changes in population. Here's what they're proposing, moving a big chunk of Kingsville out of the Essex riding.
The demographic of what's left, what's in there, from economic drivers to residential drivers, that's not in consideration. So again, it still splits those issues even further through the ridings and certainly through southwestern Ontario. It's not shown, again, other than a numbers game. It's not being shown as I think the equitable presentation of the needs of the communities.
To Spain now for a popular, messy event. Truckloads of overripe tomatoes were brought in for the famous Tomatina Food Fight Festival. Now, the fruit didn't meet the standards for human consumption, so it was used in this way instead. The popular festival is back for the first time since COVID-19 restrictions put it on hiatus 2 years ago. That is it for CBC Windsor News. For news anytime, go to cbc.ca/Windsor. Thanks for watching. Have a good night.